Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Normal America Show. Host robnoerr. Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. So I'm doing a little early stream. Still trying to figure out what I want my scheduled timing to be when it comes to these days when I'm not at work. What's up, Aftershock? Great to hear from you. Oh my goodness. Wait a minute. I'm making a huge mistake. The power's been going out here, so give me a second here. Huge mistake. Oh my goodness. There we go. Come on, we're live on air. Jeez. What's the sense of buying this stuff if I'm not going to use it properly, right? So, yeah. I like doing the daytime streams more because I like spending the last hours of the day with my son and my wife. He's a main... No, it's not a Flyers trip. For God's sakes, no. Not the Flyers, my least favorite hockey team. What's their... Gritty's interesting, but... No, just a shirt. Just like a baseball t-shirt. Anyways, so is what it is when it comes to sort of trying to get my bearings, what my schedule is going to be moving forward. But I thought it was a good topic today with Darren Beattie from Revolver News, who you may have recognized from being in that Zero Hedge debate with Alex Jones and Destiny and Glenn Greenwald and the Krasenstein brothers. He received additional video from Thomas Massie that's just, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how the slow trickle of evidence is damning as far as I'm concerned, but never seems to pierce the national conversation in any meaningful way. It's always like they drip it out long enough and slowly enough that people just accept the corruption, almost as if that's the point, right? So we'll look at that January 6th video and we'll talk about it. Also, I put together, believe it or not, you want to know how much of a boomer I am? I put together a PowerPoint, and I didn't know this until today, that you could actually record your little face on the PowerPoint. So I put together a 15-minute PowerPoint video, which hopefully I'll be uploading to YouTube. I know 15 minutes is a little long from what I've been trying to do, like sort of short form videos, but maybe it'll be palpable that people can understand, and we'll sort of go through what I consider the lack of urgency in law enforcement action, both before January 6th and after January 6th. And there's now a pattern that we see. And each time, each step in that pattern, there's going to be one defense. Can anyone tell me what the defense will be? We've already heard it. I've heard it multiple times. I heard it when I debate Destiny, heard it when I debate Pisco. I hear it when I watch other people debate January 6th. It's the same defense. What is the defense of the establishment people, of the Democrats, of the people defending the FBI, of the people defending the Sergeant at Arms? There's always one defense. How do you explain the seemingly unexplainable? For example, they thought that there was an impending insurrection, and yet they said, well, we can't stop it because of optics. Sorry, Mike Pence, you might have to be killed. Right. Incompetence. In every single situation, when it comes to actions that are almost inexplainable from intelligence agencies, law enforcement, politicians, etc., in almost every single case, it ends up benefiting the establishment type people, the Democrats, the agencies, and harming Trump and Trump-connected people. And in almost every case, the explanation that's given is, well, it's just incompetence. They illegally got FISA warrants to spy on Trump's team. Incompetence. Really, 200-something times they violated the Woods procedures that they were supposed to keep checking in on this evidence to get the FISA warrants. Incompetence. They changed an email from the CIA to say the opposite of the truth. Incompetence. Really, top people at the FBI, at the highest levels. Yep, just incompetence. They allowed Hillary's team to delete subpoenaed evidence. Incompetence. They allowed Hillary's lawyer to sit in an interview with her, even though she was a target of the investigation. Incompetence. They said optics was more important than... They thought Mike Pence's life was in jeopardy, but said, well, we can't save him because of optics. Incompetence. Paul Irving, under Nancy Pelosi, lied when he said as soon as he got the call around 2 o'clock, he gave the go-ahead to deploy the National Guard. Truth is, he was called 11 times, and for 71 minutes, he delayed it. So not only why did he delay the National Guard? Incompetence. And why did he lie about it? Incompetence. don't question those agencies. I mean, literally, the left-wing defense of them is they're so brutally stupid. They're dumb. They know less about law enforcement and less about intelligence than the average third grader. That's how incompetent these people are. But you can't question them. You got to keep funding them. You can't defund them because they're so important. Yeah, that's Critic L. That is literally the most damning thing from the video. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Timothy, I didn't even think to talk about that today. That story that's come out, right? That they were flagging people that bought things from like Bass Pro Shop, Dick's Sporting Goods, Cabela's as potential insurrectionists. No one cared. Like, and this is the thing. Like, I understand I have a show to get to, and this wasn't the theme that I thought about talking about. Video exported successfully. Good. But the more I think about it, like, I say this all the time. Would we have been better off if Donald Trump had never been elected in 2016? I say that as someone who thinks, despite his many, many flaws, he's the best president in my lifetime. Because my single issue of corruption, that corruption was outed. He didn't do enough to beat back that corruption, but it was outed. So how can I say, would we have been better off had he not won? Well, because there used to be this sort of slow crawl towards authoritarianism. They had to keep up appearances. For example, in 2014, if they would have just came out and been like, and by the way, anyone who shops at Bass Pro Shop, we're going to investigate your accounts and everything because we think you're a potential terrorist. And if you liked a certain person's tweet, you know, a politician on the other side that we don't like, then we're going to literally scoop up all of the information on everyone who liked that tweet. It would have been a scandal. People would have been like, no, you can't do that. But now because Orange Man bad and because all of the corruption got outed, and nothing happened, now we just accept it. We just, oh, geez. Oh, now they're looking at all of our bank accounts and treating us as domestic terrorists if we shopped at Bass Pro Shop. Oh, well, what can you do? Life goes on. Oh, we certainly would have been still taken advantage of by our leaders. But it's like the corruption's accelerated because they're like, oh, we could do whatever we want without consequences. Yeah, I talked about this the other day, that the event that made me start focusing on politics was just joining the debate team in 2003, 2004. That was it. I was immediately against the Iraq war. So that was one of the first big political things that I paid attention to. But for me, my real anger and distrust of the government comes from probably around 2004, 2005, when I started to look into Waco. And that to me was so unforgivable and so blatant an example of the most heinous actions, particularly those that killed children that day from government agencies and was then excused. For me, that was it. 26 at Gander Mountain. Yeah. So let's see. I hate to do this. Well, I don't hate to do this. Who am I talking about? Oh. How about this? Let me do something I don't normally do. Instead of explaining this situation to you about the January 6th pipe bomb, seeing as how I took probably a half hour of my life to put together a PowerPoint. And when I say put together, like, you have to understand, for me, like, you're probably someone that's like, I could put together a PowerPoint in 2 minutes, no problem. Not this old man. It took me forever to remember how you set it up so when you click the new words point, and that took me forever. I'm not very good at this. How about this, though? Why don't we watch the video I did? How's that? Then you get to see me in the left corner and in the right corner. Oh, I'm not centered in the little circle there. That's a bummer. Oh, well. And see what you think about what I have to say here as a general overview. Then we'll get into watching the pipe bomb video itself. So here we go. It would help if I had audio. Audio would be nice. Let's try again. Round two.
What makes January 6th something that was able to be used as an insurrection in this big narrative was the fact that people got into the Capitol. And the question has to be asked, why would it be that so many professional law enforcement, Secret Service people, etc., military people, allowed things to get out of hand? Why wasn't there adequate security? Why on the day of January 6th wasn't there more of a prevent people from being able to get into the Capitol? My conclusion to this is the most likely scenario is we see what happened. There was motivation from...
All right. One more try here.
What?
So I don't understand this, but for some reason my desktop audio through OBS comes out like crap. And so then every time I have to go in and I have to set the level to like 180%. So let's try that. Do I talk politics? I like to think so. All right, one more time.
What makes January 6th something that was able to be used as an insurrection in this big narrative was the fact that people got into the Capitol. And the question has to be asked, why would it be that so many professional law enforcement, Secret Service people, etc., military people, allowed things to get out of hand? Why wasn't there adequate security? Why on the day of January 6th wasn't there more of a sense of urgency to prevent people from being able to get into the Capitol? My conclusion to this is the most likely scenario is we see what happened. There was motivation from establishment people in the Democratic Party and in agencies like the FBI that were able to then smear a group that they didn't like, MAGA and Trump, and were able to use that to institute all sorts of things that were beneficial to them after January 6th, such as the Biden administration being able to expedite their agenda by censoring people that were from MAGA and treating the opposition like they're domestic terrorists, and basically putting a pin in any criticisms of the 2020 election by giving an excuse to censor this information online and other places. The FBI has their largest task force in history, which is then allowing them to suggest that they need to have increased money, increased buildings, etc., to be able to build up their agency because it's so important that they go after these domestic terrorists. And so what I want to do is weigh that next to what the excuse from the official people defending January 6th as an insurrection will say, and they'll say all of the evidence that I'm about to outline to you is just evidence of incompetence. That's always what they do. Every time we see over and over and over, particularly the intel agencies that have engaged in corruption against Trump and people surrounding Trump, they'll just say every time it's incompetence, every time. So let's go through the top 6 actions, 3 before January 6th and 3 during January 6th, of the lack of law enforcement's urgency in stopping the riot that was January 6th. The first one would be the FBI withholding intelligence. Now, the FBI is claiming afterwards that they knew this was an insurrection, and so in trials of people like the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, they're claiming that they had confidential human sources implanted into these organizations and knew through daily or weekly meetings that there was about to be an insurrection. And they had intelligence, for example, that said they were going to try to kill Mike Pence, or they were going to try to kill the Palace Guard, in other words, the United States Capitol Police. However, this intelligence was never shared. The bulk of it wasn't given, and we've seen both two people we'll mention here later, Capital City Police Steve Sund, who is the person who was most tasked, as always, with defending the Capitol. He claims that had he received this information, he would have had adequate security and things would have never got out of hand. And even the Sergeant-at-Arms under Nancy Pelosi, a man by the name of Paul Irving, claimed the same thing. So the question is, why was the FBI routinely on these meetings before January 6th with Stephen Sund and others, where Stephen Sund was saying, we don't have any specific intelligence that there's going to be any attack, and so we're going to have more of a lax security? Why did the FBI leaders that were on those meetings say, whoa, no, actually we do have very specific intelligence that there's about to be an insurrection? In fact, the FBI agent in charge was a man by the name of Steve D'Antoni. He was the guy who was in charge during the Gretchen Whitmer Fednapping hoax. In other words, he already showed once that the FBI was able to encourage something that would be seen as a very hostile act for what was tantamount to political points to paint MAGA people as bad. But trust him, he didn't do it this time. So the question remains, why didn't they share that intelligence? Next, General Milley. Now, you know General Milley as the general that hated Trump, that basically admitted he would commit treason, that he would contact China to warn them if Trump ever decided to have military action to them. That is a general of our military and the chief executive of the military, the president, going behind his back to aid a foreign country. That's what we know about Milley. Milley was doing all sorts of independent research on his own before January 6th, and he claims that he was able to find all sorts of evidence of talk of killing Congress people and an insurrection that was about to come. But instead of informing the people tasked with defending the Capitol that day, instead he just talked to Democratic senators about it. Why? Why would Milley, someone who's in the military, whose chief concern is protecting the United States, if he
Milley,
had credible
did I
information
mispronounce
there
it?
was
Whatever.
about to be an attack on the United States Capitol, why wouldn't he share it with the people that were tasked with defense? Why wouldn't he share that all throughout the military to make sure that the military knew the hostilities that were about to come so that they would be able to be prepared for contingency plans if things got worse? But yet, instead, Milley only talked to Democratic senator. Pelosi Sergeant-at-Arms Paul Irving. Now, Captain Stephen Sund has testified that he went to Paul Irving, and because of the way the law was set up, even though the Capital City Police Chief, in this case Sund, was the person primarily tasked with defending the Capitol, the law says that before he requests the National Guard's aid, he has to go through this sort of panel, two of which the people on the panel would have been the Sergeant-at-Arms under Mitch McConnell and under Nancy Pelosi. So he can't legally make the request for the National Guard until he talks to these Sergeant-at-Arms. So he talked to the Sergeant-at-Arms, I believe on January 3rd, Paul Irving, who answers directly to Nancy Pelosi. And he said, can we have the National Guard? And Paul Irving said no, because of optics. In other words, they were afraid to have the National Guard there because they thought it would look like Trump, like having some sort of military coup. Therefore, they thought, it's okay. There won't be anything that gets out of hand. Then we saw that Sund went and talked to the Sergeant-at-Arms under McConnell. And that Sergeant-at-Arms, when he finally got in touch with him, basically said quickly, no, just talk to the D.C. National Guard. Months later, Stephen Sund said he would talk to that same Sergeant-at-Arms under McConnell and say, hey, why did you come up with that so fast instead of saying yes or no about the National Guard to call? And he said because the Sergeant-at-Arms under Nancy Pelosi, in this case Paul Irving, called Stenger, the one under McConnell, and said, hey, Capital City Police Chief Sund's about to ask you for the National Guard. Under no circumstance give it to him. Pelosi wouldn't allow it. That's what's been testified to under oath. And yet there has been no investigation into Nancy Pelosi. There's been no subpoenaing of her records. And there hasn't even been subpoenaing of Paul Irving's records to see if he indeed had conversations with Nancy Pelosi about this. Why would this guy and Nancy Pelosi not want the National Guard there to provide protection, particularly when we know that there was intelligence going around that there was about to be an insurrection? Now, the day of January 6th, forget what we just talked about. That was in preparation. Now let's talk about the actual day of January 6th. Around 12:57, the Capital City Police Chief, Stephen Sund, thinks that there's enough evidence that this is a violent action that's getting out of control that he starts to request the National Guard. So why was the National Guard so late in deploying that day? Remember, what separates January 6th from a day like May 30th, 2020? Well, what separates it is May 30th, where you actually had violent insurrectionists from the left that were using lethal weapons in the form of Molotov cocktails, burning down a guard station, attacking police, etc. They didn't get into the building because there was adequate security. You see this all the time. There was another pro-Hamas rally the other day where instead of having little bike racks, they had big fence and they had adequate security there. And so therefore people say, not a big deal. But if there wasn't security there and people would have rushed through to the White House, would we then be able to say this was a dangerous insurrection? We don't know, because for some reason, even though there was evidence that this day was going to be an insurrection, we're now being told, the FBI and these other agencies did less than usual. You would think if they thought the government was about to be overthrown, they would do more than usual, but instead they did less than usual. So once we get to the day of January 6th, once things start to become a riot, why is it that we're so late to deploy adequate police presence or National Guard presence to prevent people from getting into the Capitol? So let's go through some of it. First, that same guy, the Sergeant-at-Arms under Pelosi, Paul Irving, who already said that he didn't want the National Guard there for optics, who we now know said that Nancy Pelosi would not accept the National Guard under any circumstances. He gets a call at 12:57 from Sund and says, can you give me permission to request the guard? And remember, legally, Sund had to ask the sergeant at arms this question before he could request deployment. And basically, Irving said, let me get back to you. Sund called Irving 11 times. Irving said he had to kick it up the chain. The only person up the chain was Nancy Pelosi. That's the only person he answers to. 11 times he received a call before he finally gave permission around 2 o'clock, right around the time when people were breaching the Capitol. Now, my contention is that's what was wanted this day by all of these agencies. They wanted a breach of the Capitol so that they could use their insurrection narrative, which clearly we can see they've used that narrative to personal benefit. So right at that point when people start to get close to the Capitol and start breaching, finally he says, okay. But here's the crazy part. Paul Irving lies under oath about it. He says he didn't receive a call until, I believe, around 2 o'clock. And the first time he got the call from Stephen Sund, he went ahead and gave permission. But Sund has the records of the calls that he makes and was in a room with a bunch of people that could back up his testimony that he called 11 times for 71 minutes. And yet, for some reason, the January 6th committee that's allegedly about how do we make sure this thing doesn't happen again, they have no problem with this dispute and testimony between Sund and Irving. Seeing as how Sund has the documents and the call logs to back this up, it's evident that Irving's lying. So why did he not allow the National Guard? And then why did he lie about it later? If truly they believed this was an insurrection that was going to harm senators and possibly Mike Pence, why would they delay in getting the adequate security there? Next is Lieutenant General of the Army, Paeta, denies the National Guard for optics. And so we could see that after the request for permission was given, Sund then gets on a phone call with a bunch of leaders, including the D.C. Mayor Bowser, people from the Army, people from the CIA. And the person that speaks up is Lieutenant General Paeta. And he tells Sund that they're not going to allow the request for the National Guard because of optics. Now imagine being a senior member of the military, who one of your chief jobs is not just to protect this country, but to also protect the leaders of this country. And you think that there is an impending insurrection, that the hordes are at the gates. You see that they're breaking into the Capitol, and you fear for the lives of senators and for people like Mike Pence. And yet you say, I'm willing to risk those senators dying because optics. This makes no sense. And yet, Paeta hasn't received any discipline to my knowledge. There haven't been massive outcries by the people that are crying about January 6th, like Kissinger or Liz Cheney or any of the Democrats, demanding answers from Paeta why he would say, wait a minute, you allowed this insurrection to occur because of optics? And now we have the bombshell video that is released of the Secret Service and law enforcement and their reaction to the pipe bomb that was outside the DNC. You could see the video that Darren Beattie from Revolver News has put out that was released by Thomas Massie. It shows that a man in a hoodie that we now allegedly know to be an undercover or a plainclothes Capital City police officer nonchalantly walking up to Secret Service and law enforcement and telling them that he saw a pipe bomb. Then you see them standing around doing seemingly nothing while literally they allow children to walk across the street and get within 5 feet or so of this pipe bomb. Now imagine this. You think that this is an insurrection or at least a riot that's getting out of hand, and you're law enforcement, and you think that you see an active pipe bomb, and yet you just stand around. And you allow people, civilians, innocent children, to get really close to the pipe bomb. You're not immediately segregating off the area. In fact, the Secret Service was there because Kamala Harris, the VP-elect, was there. They didn't have a sense of urgency, it seems, to protect her. Why? It's almost as if they're acting as if they know the pipe bomb is fake. But how would they know that? Even if they suspected, well, it's probably not real, average protocol would be that you treat any threat as legitimate. There is no excuse whatsoever for their nonchalant attitude, particularly when it comes to allowing civilians in the form of children to get near that pipe bomb. Why would they have this attitude? All of this combined shows one constant factor, that despite overwhelming evidence, there were seemingly inexplicable decisions made over and over and over that were not only against the norm, but were against the norm in making things as nonchalant as possible. We're not going to share intelligence. We're not going to rope off that section with the pipe bomb. We think that this is a violent insurrection to overthrow the government, but we're not going to deploy the National Guard. This is from multiple people, multiple groups. And what we're told to believe is it was just all incompetence. So at the same time that a lieutenant general of the government doesn't know that, oh, if there's an impending insurrection, we should allow the National Guard, optics wouldn't be a concern, and that Paul Irving lied about 11 times that he received this call requesting it and for some reason didn't give permission to request the National Guard. And he said previously that he didn't want it before January 6th because it would be bad for optics and Nancy Pelosi would never allow it. All of these things combined, you have to ask yourself, what is the most likely explanation? It's not just as we hear from the establishment bootlickers over and over again. Each of these, just like the FISA warrants, the illegal spying on Trump, just like the not charging people in the Hillary case for intentionally destroying subpoenaed evidence, every single time that we see some sort of action being taken like this, it almost always seems to benefit these establishment groups and harm the groups connected to Trump. And every time when we see that there's problems, the explanation without fail is, it was just incompetence. These career-level people at our intelligence services, at our law enforcement, at our military, over and over and over, seemingly, despite the fact that it's obvious that they're benefiting from this because they didn't like Trump, as Chuck Schumer said, they'd find 6 ways from Sunday at getting him, and it ends up benefiting them personally and with their agencies personally, we're told to say, forget all of that. Forget all of that. It's just incompetence. The last question that remains is this. Why didn't Democrats in the January 6th committee focus on these issues more? If they think this was truly an insurrection and we were a hair's breadth from an actual violent overthrow of this government, surely they would want answers for how it occurred in the first place. Let's take the latest issue, the January 6th pipe bomb. This footage has been available to the January 6th committee, and it's been drug out so that the average American people wouldn't be able to see it. Why? And if they did see it, surely they could come to the same conclusion that you will and any objective person would, which is, why are these law enforcement agencies standing around? Who was the plainclothes officer that reported it? Who were the officers that just stood there and allowed children to get remarkably close to the pipe bomb? Why aren't there answers for this? Not only for the American people, but for the people that were in this committee. Why does there seem to be almost no focus whatsoever on the pipe bomb? The clearest explanation is because these things actually benefited the Democratic Party and benefited these agencies. They don't want to talk about like, oh yeah, it looks really bad that we allowed all of this to occur. Instead, they want to say Trump's an insurrectionist, Trump people are insurrectionists. The most likely scenario, given all of this evidence, is that January 6th was something that was planned to get out of control by these agencies and the establishment so that they could use it as an excuse to finally bury MAGA. That's the truth that they don't want to talk about, and they don't have a better explanation. Instead, they'll scream, conspiracy theory, conspiracy theory. The real explanation is they're all grossly incompetent, but none of them really get punished. So I hope that you go and you watch that January 6th video of the pipe bomb that was just released, and I hope that you're able to make your own conclusion. Ask yourself this: why did they stand around, and why did all these actions outlined in this video occur?
Yay! What a great video. Man, I killed it. Should let that guy do the show all the time. So hopefully I'll be uploading that to YouTube and to X here today. Answer a couple questions that I saw. Bass Guitar says, so do I believe it was an insurrection planned or not? It depends on what you mean. Do I believe that there were a small handful of people that, given the opportunity and power, would have tried to overthrow the government? Sure. I could believe that in just about every single riot or rally that we see that occurs in any case. The idea that a handful of people, 2 or 3 people, would have been able to overthrow the government and therefore we call it an insurrection is nonsensical. The vast majority of people there was no pre-planning to overthrow the government or anything like that. So no, it wasn't an insurrection attempt. However, I will say that I don't take issue with, even if it's just a couple of LARPers online suggesting that they're about to take an insurrection or some violent action. I understand why the people tasked with defense would find that information relevant. So they would say, look, even if someone like me and you could say, look, a handful of Proud Boys saying, we're going to take back this country, isn't tantamount to an insurrection, particularly when they didn't even bring firearms. But you could understand why people preparing, the police officers preparing, would want to be aware of that knowledge. So why weren't there? There we go. And now, by the way, in case you're wondering who Bass Guitar is, who's answering asking these questions, he's the person that believes that actually it was, who was it, Miller, acting... that this was a big conspiracy by Miller, that he lied in his testimony, and then the entire point was to allow these people to get in to overthrow the government. Now, all of those agencies that I put there, just that, and that's only, by the way, that's not the totality of the story, right? Like, we could talk about more people that were connected, for example, her name's escaping right now, but the chief intelligence officer of the U.S. Capitol Police that had some small intelligence that refused to share it to anyone. And despite the fact that she was definitely more culpable than Stephen Son, the Capital City Police Chief, Nancy Pelosi sought to promote her. And now she is the chief of police in Berkeley, right in Nancy Pelosi's district there. Got a nice cushy job. You would think Pelosi, the person that was, one of the people at the head of calling this an insurrection, would definitely not want to promote people that failed spectacularly. But Bass Guitar says all of these people, despite what you know of how people at the FBI, people at the military, people like Milley, and their obvious dislike of Donald Trump, they're all involved in this conspiracy theory, and they all were encouraging all of these unarmed people that day that didn't have firearms to overthrow the government. That's what was going on. So that's who's asking these questions, right? Just so you know who Bass Guitar is. That's his big theory, okay? So you could get a little mindset of where he's coming. So I already explained. He says, well, if it wasn't an insurrection, why should people have treated it as such? Again, it is not the ability of the FBI to understand or to say, well, we don't think this is serious, so we won't release it. And then later say, oh, clearly it was serious, and now we're going to use that information to go after people as if they're domestic terrorists, an entire swath of a political movement. I already said, for me, objectively, as someone not involved in law enforcement, this wasn't an insurrection, as you could see by the fact that people got into the building and just calmly walked around and didn't bring firearms. But the people tasked with security would like the normal procedures to be followed through, that if there is evidence or intelligence that suggests that there could be a violent action about to take place, that they be made aware of it, therefore they can prepare adequately. I think, does anyone have any questions about that? How I could think simultaneously that this wasn't an insurrection, but that it's absurd that the people that are saying it was an insurrection withheld evidence, intelligence prior. Everyone understand that? Now, Bass Guitar will take the exact... Now, I turn the question to him. If this was a violent insurrection and they had this intelligence, then how do you explain them not sharing it? How do you explain them not deploying the National Guard the day of? He has no answer. No answer. The FBI gets unserious threats all the time. Yes, but they had specific... As Stephen Sunday said, even when there are normal rallies and things like that in D.C., there's intelligence sharing efforts where that sort of intelligence is shared with Capitol Police, and they're able to then judge themselves how much of a defense they think they'll need of the Capitol grounds. Yet in this point, where we're told by the FBI that they had all of these people implanted, and this isn't unserious intelligence, that's not what they're saying now. Now they're saying, we knew that these people were planning a violent overthrow of the government because we had confidential human sources within them. So Bass Guitar wants to have his cake and eat it too. He says on one hand, he thinks it's okay that the FBI didn't go through the procedures they normally would when they didn't have evidence there's an insurrection because, they get fake threats all the time, no big deal. But simultaneously, it was an insurrection and they can now use that intelligence that they intentionally didn't share to go after people and throw them in prison for 20 years that weren't even there because they planned a violent insurrection. So, thanks so much, Bass Guitar. Appreciate it. I'm not going to look at your comments anymore today. Thanks for being here. But that's the sort of, you see, despite all of this overwhelming evidence, no, it's all Trump. Trump should have deployed. McCarthy should have deployed. It's all Trump. It's all Trump. It's all Trump and McCarthy. It's just Trump and McCarthy. They did it. And it was a big conspiracy. All of these people that were involved, they are all there to help Trump. The people like Milley that clearly hated Trump, he was there. He was the reason he withheld intelligence. That's Paeta, the people at the army that were under Milley and stuff. They clearly, it was all a big conspiracy to benefit Trump. And apparently Bass Guitar knows this. But Nancy Pelosi doesn't. If Bass Guitar would merely pick up the phone and call Nancy Pelosi and say, hey, everyone lied. Everyone was in on it. Everyone was trying to help Donald Trump. Then we could get somewhere with the January 6th committee. But for some reason, the Democrats couldn't figure it out. They just couldn't. Now, there was another, McBacon Love said something that I thought was important as well, right? And that was when he said, it's ironic the way they set this up. On one hand, they make all this argument about optics, right? And so you have the Sergeant at Arms under Nancy Pelosi says, no, can't deploy the National Guard because of optics. You have Lieutenant General Paeta that says, no, you can't deploy the National Guard because of optics. And the argument that they're making is, well, Trump's seen as this dictator, and he's trying to steal the election. And so if he sends the National Guard out there, my God, it'll look like he's using the military to install himself as dictator. That's what it'll look like, so we can't deploy it. And then the same people simultaneously make the argument, but it's also evidence that Trump engaged in an insurrection because he should have deployed the National Guard that day. So you have all these people who are professionals that have been professionals whose job it is primarily to deal with security, to protect the people that serve in our country. They're saying, no, don't deploy the National Guard. It'll look really bad. It'll do more harm than good because optically it'll look like Trump being a dictator. But they're saying, despite that, Trump should have overridden all of them to look even more like a dictator and deploy the Guard. And I brought this up, and Pisco answered it. Like it's my pinned tweet on Twitter, I think. Let's see. Well, I've talked about this. I say, look at how quickly the January 6th insurrection narrative falls apart. The reason this day is seen as so bad is because people were able to get to the Capitol. But how? The FBI claims to have known before January 6th there was about to be an insurrection that would use violence to target elected officials to overthrow the government. And yet it didn't even brief the Capital City Police Chief tasked with defense of the Capitol. People in various agencies denied that same chief, the National Guard, that was only blocks away that day, even though they claimed to know that this was an insurrection that could have harmed elected officials. And the reason they gave was optics. Was more important than protecting our Capitol. And as you can see in this clip of me debating the omni-liberal, that's Destiny, they totally buy these agencies' claims of not acting because of optics. The most likely explanation is these agencies wanted the optics of a riot so that their allies could claim it was an insurrection and use it to finally squash MAGA, which is exactly what they've done. See how this exchange below with the Destiny Orbiter Pisco claims no one in their right mind would think of calling Trump an authoritarian if he deployed the Guard on January 6th. In other words, the agencies delayed the Guard because of optics were lying, because no one else in their right mind would have believed that using the Guard at the riot would have been seen as Trump using the military to overthrow the government or be authoritarian. And yet Pisco and Destiny don't care that these agencies lied. They don't bother to say, wait, why would they intentionally allow this to get out of hand and then lie about why they did it? They don't care because it's never about truth with them. It's only about going after Trump and his supporters. And here you can see, I said, and I knew exactly what Pisco's answer would be when I made this post. If Trump would have deployed the Guard over the recommendations of security and military personnel, like Pisco would have called, people like Pisco would have called him authoritarian. However, because he didn't call them in, they call him an insurrectionist. And Pisco says, this is important. Look what he says. This is a lie. It's such a lie. No, we wouldn't. They wouldn't have called him authoritarian. Congress people were begging for the National Guard to be mobilized. Capitol Police were begging. And the proof is in the pudding. Trump actually claimed credit for it. We were upset it was late, not that it happened. Okay. So then Pisco's argument is no one would have said, had the National Guard been deployed, it would have looked like Trump using the military for himself. But that's what the Lieutenant General said. He said we can't, once the people were in the Capitol, when he's asked request to allow the National Guard, he says, I can't because of optics. But Pisco just told you, no one would have made that argument. No one. Okay, then why aren't you calling out Paeta for lying? Either it's true that people would have made that argument because they did, because they were saying over and over, optics, 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 or those people are lying. And then why aren't you calling for them to have answers for why they lied? Becoming Orthodox for fasting days. I'm going out to dinner tonight. Actually, I was supposed to go out and do some work stuff today, but the roads are really bad here. So, I mean, yeah, you're exactly right, McBacon Love. You can see how they talk out of both sides of their mouth. On one hand, yes, both before January 6th and during January 6th, these military leaders, law enforcement, etc., were very prudent to suggest deploying the National Guard would be bad for optics. But simultaneously, no one would credibly say that it would be bad for optics if Trump did it and it would look authoritarian. No one would say that. That's where they're at. And when you talk about that discrepancy in those answers, they'll just say, incompetence. Pisco says no one would make that argument. And yet we have a lieutenant general making that exact argument on that exact day. How's Pisco answer for it? Incompetence. Now, I would like to be done by a little after 11 here. So let's get to the Darren Beattie video. Now, there's a 7-minute video, which I'm going to attach, or I'm going to link, and I encourage you all to watch it all. But we're not going to watch the full 7-minute video. Instead, we're going to break it down into the tweets he has in the smaller sections. But there's the video we have. And this is, again, Darren J. Beattie from Revolver. And let's just go through his tweet thread here. He also did an interview yesterday with Tucker Carlson. Says, below, courtesy of Thomas Massie, is the most damning explosive January 6 footage released yet. In my view, this will end up demolishing the regime's January 6 narrative with a major pillar of the Dems' 2024 strategy. You paying attention, Kamala? We'll see. I don't know if it'll be enough to pierce the national narrative or not. Let's start here. This footage shows that the discovery of the pipe bomb at a bench outside the DNC headquarters. The first clip shows that approximately 1:05, a man in a backpack approaches the Metro PD SUV and the Black Secret Service SUV, informing them of the pipe bomb's presence. Interestingly, the report from Turning Point USA reveals that this man is a plainclothes officer. Oops. So let's watch the video. See this man here walking up? So he walks up, and allegedly this is a plainclothes officer. Now, he just found a pipe bomb. Where's the sense of urgency? Okay, he's going to talk. So he talks to these police people. This is a man who just found a pipe bomb. And he walk around the other side. Now, notice there are cars driving by that would literally be within the blast zone of a pipe bomb, most likely. See? Pedestrians walking by. No sense of urgency. Now, he goes and he talks to an unmarked vehicle, which is Secret Service people. See the people walking across the road? Pedestrians, cars. Now he's just calmly walking away. Beattie continues, here are the first things are out of the ordinary. After being informed of a pipe bomb feet away, the Metro PD authorities, who are technically on Secret Service detail, take over a minute before they even bother getting out of the car. How does anyone explain this? They think there's a pipe bomb feet away, yards away. They're watching pedestrians go up and down the road next to it. Still sitting in the car. Still there. Yeah, right. I guess, yeah, pipe bomb trying to kill the vice president. I guess we'll get out of there now. Why? What possible explanation could there be? Now listen, let me be charitable. I'm not suggesting that these people run up and immediately tried to dispose of the pipe bomb or dismantle it. Clearly, there's probably people that are specialists within their organization that you would wait for. But why wouldn't you be quarantining the area? Isn't that the first thing you would do? There's a bomb. Everybody, you wouldn't know there's a bomb necessarily, but that's what you're thinking. Everybody stand back. Everybody. Please. You would immediately have all of those people in that car immediately saying, everybody stay away from this section. But no. And it gets worse. He says, now things really get weird. Take a look at this clip and note how casually Metro PD and Secret Service operations lounge about after being informed of the pipe bomb feet away. There's absolutely zero concern for their own safety or of that of their protectee, Kamala Harris. Towards the end of the clip, you see a pedestrian walk by. They didn't warn them that there was a bomb feet away. Let's see. Look at that. These are people that were just informed that there is a pipe bomb in the direct presence of the VP-elect Kamala Harris. And this is their reaction. Allegedly, it was first discovered that there was a pipe bomb right here. That guy with the backpack was the guy who discovered it, who immediately walked over to them. Look at him, just casually milling about. Oh, hum, ho, hum. Oh, look, cars driving by in the vicinity of a pipe bomb. Oh, well. Just walking around. Now, I noticed that In Pursuit of Knowledge is making some claims here. In Pursuit of Knowledge, let me ask you a question totally unrelated to this. Do you mind? You mind playing along with me? Do you remember seeing the footage of the Uvalde police officers? And other people could respond if they want to, but I'm really looking for In Pursuit of Knowledge's answer here. In Pursuit of Knowledge, do you remember seeing footage of the Uvalde police officers? You remember that? That was when there was that terrible shooting at a school. And there was like 70 minutes that Uvalde police officers stood back while the shooting continued. You remember that? Simple yes, no would suffice. I know it takes a little longer to type, but see if we can get to that. We'll give him a couple seconds here. If he doesn't answer, I'll answer as if I was him. Yeah, we remember. We remember. So he's not going to play along. This is often what you see with these lefties, right? They won't play along. So he remembers, and everyone was outraged. People on the right were outraged. People on the left were outraged too. It's ridiculous. Now, imagine, thank you so much, Bass Guitar, for the subscription. I really appreciate it. Imagine In Pursuit of Knowledge commenting on the people that saw the footage of the Uvalde police officer standing back as children were being shot. Imagine what he would say. You want me to tell you what he would say? This is what he would say. Oh, you people are a real jack of all trades. You know exactly what law enforcement should do in an active shooting situation. See how ridiculous that sounds? You can't criticize law enforcement in Uvalde because you're not an expert. So who are you to make any... Similarly, how could you criticize Derek Chauvin with George Floyd? Are you a law enforcement expert? Are you a jack of all trades? Can't criticize any police action ever. Right, of course he ran. Of course. So what he wants us to believe is Secret Service and police are there to protect Kamala Harris, the VP-elect. And I don't like Kamala Harris, let's be clear. I think the idea that there's an attempt on her life in the form of a bomb or anything else is outrageous. I don't like Joe Biden. An attempt on Joe Biden's life would be outrageous. So if Secret Service or law enforcement acted in such a way that is almost inexplicable, that jeopardized the lives of these politicians or of civilians, you're damn right I'm going to call it out. Thank you so much, my neighbor guy, for the sub. I really appreciate it. So when we see video of, here's the first video, this guy in a backpack's an undercover police officer. He sees the pipe bomb. He walks over. He sees a police car. He talks to the police car, then talks to Secret Service. And they just mill about for 3 minutes doing nothing. And what I said was, I'm not an expert. I assume, like, for example, I know cops. I have friends that are police officers. I don't think they're bomb disposal experts. So if they come across a bomb, I don't think the most prudent thing is for them to start cutting wires like you see in the movie. But probably what they would do is quarantine everyone off to make sure that there's a big area away from so people aren't close to the bomb, and then wait for the experts to come. Thank you so much, Gizmo. I appreciate the sub. I really do. And yet, the bootlicking lefties, like In Pursuit of Knowledge, will go, you can't criticize them for just standing around and letting children get close to that bomb. You don't know what the proper procedure is. Trust the experts. But I just wanted to deal with him there before we get further. Good morning, Gizmo. Let's keep going. Darren Beattie says, in this clip, we can see whoever's manning the Capitol Police cameras finally responds to the information regarding the pipe bomb and zooms into the benches where the pipe bomb was planted. Notice the empty cup on the bench right next to the pipe bomb. January 6th was a very windy day, and it's unlikely an empty coffee cup would have lasted on that bench for long before getting blown away. Someone had to be sitting there recently, perhaps the plainclothes officers. Can't say this definitively, but it appears 11 seconds into this clip that you could briefly catch the timer on the pipe bomb in view. So here you can see, okay, finally the guy running the camera. Now the bomb is right in this area. Here, let me show you. It's under this bench in around this area. So there's this cup, an empty cup just sitting on the bench. And the question Beattie's asking is, what appears as if someone was on that bench recently. Critical, your message do show up in chat. You can see it right there. But do you see, this is right against a public street that cars are driving by. Look, there's people standing right there. Look at this. Look at these people. Again, let me pause and show you. The bomb's allegedly under this bench right here. These people are feet away. The cops are standing over there doing nothing. Xhris says, just to be clear, the entire narrative is just Darren Beattie tweeting. The video doesn't clearly show any of the claims being made. Okay, so your claim is that video does not show those officers standing there. That's your claim. That's the claim. We know that that location is the location of the pipe bomb. We could see those officers standing. Is your claim that there's no evidence that this was when the officers were informed? That's your claim. The bootlickers will go as far as... You would think that... Now, keep in mind, my assumption is, I could be wrong, but people like In Pursuit of Knowledge and Xhris and Bass Guitar, right? These are people that I'm assuming their worldview is this was a pipe bomb placed by MAGA people to try to overthrow the government. And the fact that it ended up being fake, it doesn't matter. It was to instill fear to try to overthrow the government. So we have evidence that law enforcement just nonchalantly stands away. And they're like, well, we don't know. I don't know. It's not really that big of a deal. I don't see the problem with this. It's just some guy tweeting. We don't really know. Yeah, I know. January 6th committee didn't really look into it or anything like that. But, Weird. Isn't that weird? It's similar to the Ray Epps thing, right? How all the Democrats were like, everyone that was there is a terrorist. But not Ray Epps, that poor man. That poor man. What a poor man. Now you see they start to get... There's no pipe bomb in the video, right? That's his argument. That's Chris's argument here. No pipe bomb in the video. Inexplicably, for no reason whatsoever now, these Secret Service and police officers start going near the pipe bomb. Must just be a complete coincidence. So, next. For reference, here's a screenshot the FBI provided of the footage of the lead pipe bomber seconds before. Notice the same bench. There it is, because remember, we're told that the pipe bomb was placed right here the night before and was there for 17 hours. Literally the exact same bench. But Xhris says, nope, not the case. So there you can see there. And there you can see the exact same bench. That's it. Nope, forget all that. For all we know, we're just trusting the FBI that they put that picture out. You know, no, we can't trust anything, Xhris. The FBI could be lying about that. That's just Darren Beattie tweeting that the FBI said that. That's not anything, right? Fucking X. Pathetic. Your boot, sir. Would you care to lick some more? Oops. Beattie says, in this clip, we not only see if the nonchalance of the Secret Service seemed weird before, now it gets downright scandalous. In this clip, we not only see a bunch of Secret Service agents standing in close proximity to the bomb, we see a group of children cross the street toward the location of the bomb, ultimately locking within feet of it. The Secret Service did not bother to warn the children of the bomb. Either these Secret Service agents were utterly concerned with the life of their protectee Kamala Harris, the lives of their children, and their own lives, or they somehow knew the pipe bomb was a dud. But how would they know that? We know that the DNC pipe bomb was dismantled by a bomb-safe robot. How could one possibly explain this scenario in which the bomb is considered safe enough to allow children to walk within feet of it, and yet it requires a bomb-safe robot to defuse it? So here they are. See, they're all out of the car now. They know the bomb's under this bench. There comes kids. Did you see that? Let's watch again. Secret Service and law enforcement knows there's a pipe bomb right in that corner. And they allow these kids to walk within, it looks like, 15 feet of this pipe bomb. Now let's play devil's advocate and say for a minute, even though it's been admitted, to my knowledge, it's been admitted that that man in the hoodie was the one that informed. I believe that's been admitted by all sides, that that was when the pipe bomb first became aware to law enforcement, when that man in the hoodie told them. But let's say that you don't believe that for whatever reason. Fair enough. And so then you could explain all of this. Well, these agents are just standing around and letting kids get close and all of that, because at this point, at 1:07 or whatever, they didn't know there was a pipe bomb there. I don't see proof of it yet. If it then becomes evident, that it becomes admitted that, yes, this man in the hoodie told them there was a pipe bomb, now what's the defense? There we go. Now In Pursuit of Knowledge says, Rob showed the video. How long was it? Less than 5 minutes? Do they have the bomb squad there in 0.0002 seconds to be accepted? Fucking ridiculous, and you know it. No, what's ridiculous is you making excuses if they knew there was a bomb there and they didn't quarantine the area. Of course, you don't criticize them if the bomb squad wasn't there within 30 seconds. That's juvenile. No one's making that argument. The argument we're making is they're aware that there's a pipe bomb and they stand around doing jack squat while children walk right next to the pipe bomb. That's the argument. How much damage can a pipe bomb do? Depends on the bomb, but there are some that could literally have let's look it up. According to the official DNI.gov website, which you can see right here, I'll put the link to. Because In Pursuit of Knowledge is now going to say, well, you know, kids coming within 15 feet of a pipe bomb, that's no big deal. Maybe this pipe bomb wouldn't have caused that damage. Here's the actual DNI.gov recommendations for a pipe bomb. Mandatory evacuation, 70 feet. Preferred evacuation, 1,200 feet. You were saying? You were saying? So just so you know, that now the bootlicking lefties like In Pursuit of Knowledge, now where they're going is, okay. So they stood around and did next to nothing, and they let children get within 15 to 20 feet of the bomb. But for all we know, this was just a bomb that would only blow up like a firecracker, like 3 feet. So that's okay. Show the picture of the bomb. Why would showing the picture of the bomb? So now your argument is this. They see what they think's a bomb, but they instantly know, we know this is the type of bomb that wouldn't have the normal pipe bomb radius. Okay, now we'll show look at how the goalposts move. Look at how ridiculous the arguments are getting. You see? There's a picture. Okay, now from this picture, explain to me, if the protocol is a preferred evacuation in the event of a pipe bomb of 1,200 feet, can you explain to me why they, based on this picture, because apparently you're going to say based on what the pipe bomb looked at, it was acceptable for them to let children within 15 feet of the pipe bomb. Go ahead. There you go. There's the answer to your questions. Am I a pipe bomb? See, there you go. Now, I'm done dealing with In Pursuit of Knowledge, so I'm not going to take his questions anymore. But this is where we've came. All right. They're aware that there's a bomb. They see it's a pipe bomb. He said children are within 15, 20 feet of it. He says, well, how bad can pipe bombs get? I show that in the event of a pipe bomb, the official government recommendations is to evacuate more. What was it? 1,200 feet? Was it more than that? Yeah, 1,200 plus feet. He says, show a picture of the pipe bomb. I show a picture of the pipe bomb. He goes, are you a pipe bomb expert? Do you see? You see? How about this? Do you think In Pursuit of Knowledge is running around going, oh, the people that mention a pipe bomb, being part of an insurrection, it was nothing. It was just, trust me, it's no big deal whatsoever. Even if it wasn't a dud, it could only blow up like 5 feet. So little of effect that the police immediately knew we could leave children within 15 feet of this pipe bomb. Then why was a big deal made of it? Basically, he wants you to believe this was a firecracker. And therefore, that explains why police would allow people within 15 feet of it. Fit 1,200 is the preferred evacuation distance. The mandatory evacuation distance is 70 feet. Here you can see more of what they suggest. Pipe bomb. Explosives capacity 5 pounds. Mandatory evacuation 70 feet. Shelter in place 71 to 1200. Preferred evacuation 1200. 15 feet is what we got here for kids. 15 feet. It does look like the ones feds use in training. Let's finish it up. Minutes later, Capitol police officer walks right up to the bomb and snaps a photo of it. Gives the thumbs up signal and everyone leaves quickly thereafter. Weirdly, the Secret Service behavior after the Capitol police officer takes a picture of the bomb is the fastest we've seen them move. Now, Xhris says there's no evidence. Notice the time frame. So let's just to answer Xhris. First, let's watch this. So here he comes up. See how they're taking a photo right there of the bomb? That's what they're doing. Okay, you're good. Now they head out. Now look at the timestamp here. 1:10:21. Okay? Now, Xhris says we don't have any evidence that they, moments before when this video started, were aware of the pipe bomb. Xhris, can you explain to me what you think that guy was taking a picture of there? Go ahead, Xhris. So at 1:10 they were aware of the bomb. Okay. Now let's go back and watch in totality. Oh shit, there was a picture of the bomb. That's the picture that was taken. I should have just scrolled down a little further. So again, let's look at it in totality one last time then. So it's 1:05. Now Xhris has to... Oh, sorry. It'd help if I put the video on. It's 1:05 exactly. Xhris has to admit within 5 minutes they're aware of the bomb because a police officer is taking a picture of it. So the question, my timestamp extra. So the question becomes, if this isn't, as Beattie's saying, Darren Beattie's saying that this was when they were first made aware of that bomb there, here when this guy with the backpack comes up, when were they, according to you, when were they made aware of the bomb? Because the only defense he'll be able to offer for the actions of law enforcement is, while they're taking these actions that we're about to see, they were unaware of the bomb. Now, as I said, I believe it was admitted in testimony by law enforcement that this man coming up with the backpack was when they were officially made aware of the bomb. So Xhris is now, in order to provide any sort of defense for law enforcement here, is going to have to argue that this person coming up talking to them, which spurs them getting out of the cars, is completely innocuous and has nothing to do with them being made aware about the existence of this pipe bomb. And it just serendipitously occurs that this other police officer walking by takes a photo of the pipe bomb, and that's the first moment that they realize it. All right. Here's the guy that we're told is a plainclothes cop, comes up, talks to the police. Now, presumably what he's saying there is, I think I saw a pipe bomb over there. Now, we don't have footage that's been released of allegedly this guy finding the bomb. We don't have that. But this is when allegedly police are first made aware of it. If that is the case, how can you explain this nonchalantness? Hey, there's a pipe bomb. I think I just saw a pipe bomb. Oh, okay, go talk to the guy on the other side. Okay. Now we're at around 30 seconds. They're still just meandering. You could see people walking by. There's a woman walking by at the back. No one's trying to quarantine off the area. Now he goes and he talks to the Secret Service. I think there's a pipe bomb over there. Now you see people walking across the street right next to the pipe bomb again. More people coming. Now, at this point, it's been about a minute. Guy walks back towards the bomb. Nothing. Now, presumably, they're on their radio reporting. There's a bomb. But they're not getting out of their cars to try to prevent pedestrians from getting near to the bomb. Why? Now we're damn near 2 minutes on from when the guy first came up and talked to them. Now, pause here. The guy comes up to the car. He says something to them. Xhris will have to acknowledge that within 2 minutes and 30 seconds, that in the best possible scenario, that what happens is within 2 minutes and 30 seconds, another cop who just happens to be walking by with a camera walks up and takes a picture of the pipe bomb. But up until that point, no one was aware that there was a pipe bomb. That's what he's going, that's the argument that he's going. So now the guy comes up, talks to them, they get out of the car. Why are they getting out of the car? We don't know. It's just completely coincidental. They happen to be right next to the pipe bomb. This guy happens to come up and tell them something. They happen to then get out of the car, but it's completely separate from the fact that some other random police officer is going to walk by and take a picture of the pipe bomb 2 minutes from now. Still standing around. Why are they walking this direction? Why do they seem to be walking towards the direction of the pipe bomb if they're not informed? Again, according to Xhris, this is just completely serendipitous. Xhris says, show the evidence or admit that it's conjecture. What I'll do is, Xhris, thank you so much. What I'll do is tell you to kindly eat shit, and you could no longer be on my channel. So thanks so much. Thanks, Crisco. They only have an effective range of 1 to 2 feet. Yeah. Now they're walking towards. Why in the world? Here's a question. Now you're about to see, so now we're about 3 minutes in from when that guy with the hoodie comes up to them. Still haven't blocked the road off. Still allowing cars to drive right next to it. Doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency whatsoever. Now we're about to see children walk across the street towards the pipe bomb. 3.5 minutes after the guy with the hoodie came up and started to talk to them. Now, for some reason, inexplicably, what we're told to believe right now is, just so you know what Xhris's position is, right? Let's say that's true, right? Let's take Critical's position here, which is a dog shit position. Let me be clear. I just want to be clear. I don't have a problem answering questions. Just so you know, people like Xhris and Critical, they're dog shit people. That's what they are. They are making excuses and bootlicking for this obvious behavior that we see from these organizations. And I get it. I get why they would like to do it. I understand, right? When you don't have an argument, you feign ignorance. Like, maybe pipe bombs only have a 2-foot radius. I get it. I get why these people would do this. So now what I want you to do is explain to me Critical. Let's assume Xhris and Critical's positions at this point. Completely serendipitous that they still don't know about the pipe bomb, allegedly. Still don't know about it. Pieces of shit like Critical and Xhris would say. They still don't know. They don't know, right? So now it's 4 minutes after that guy, or 3.5 minutes after that guy with the hoodie came up. Can you explain to me, Critical, if they still don't know about the pipe bomb, why is the cameraman pointing in that direction? Why did the cameraman move the camera to look in that direction? Can you explain that to me? Go ahead. Go ahead, Critical. Go ahead. Critical, where you at? Now, I just want to, now, let me get this argument. Critical, you tell me if I'm right. So it's just serendipitous that guy that we've been told was the person that went up and talked to him in the hoodie, told them about the pipe bomb. It's just serendipitous that after he did that those people nonchalantly, albeit, but eventually got out of the car and started to walk towards the direction of the pipe bomb. That's just serendipitous. Now it's serendipitous. At 1:09, the cameraman just happens to go and focus on right on where the pipe bomb is. So your argument is, okay, so now the dispatch person, the camera person is now, this is Critical's argument here, you ready? So now the camera person at 1:09 has just been made aware of this, but the police on the ground didn't have access to that same dispatch. That's the argument? Right, Critical? That's what you're saying, right? Now the argument is, okay, now the cameraman knows at 1:09, but for some reason they didn't deploy that information to the people there. No, I got it, man. Yeah, you're just playing devil's advocate, sticking up for the corrupt FBI. Totally get it, Critical. Yep, absolutely. So now I'm asking you, you wanted to play devil's advocate, now you get a chance. So your argument is here at 1:09 that the cameraman's now aware that there's a pipe bomb, but they didn't inform the police officers that are feet away. That's your argument. That apparently there was a dispatch, but I guess the police officers and the Secret Service people there didn't get that dispatch. That's your argument, right? I just want to hear it from you. Because you're just asking questions. So I'm trying to get to the bottom of it, right? That's all you people are doing. You're just asking questions. Maybe the pipe bomb only has a 2-foot blow radius. Right, we got it. Just questions. Got it. So Critical, now I'm asking you. Where you at, Critical? Your argument is going to be the cameraman now knows, but the police officers don't. That's your argument. Because if it's not your argument, how do you explain this? If the police officers know at this point, nah, that's probably just a coincidence that the cameraman's doing that. Probably just a coincidence. That's my guess. They didn't know. It's just a coincidence. He's like, I think I'm going to look under this bench for no reason. Makes sense. It's just a coincidence that these guys are all walking around like that. That's just a coincidence, right, Critical? They probably still don't know. It's all just a coincidence, right? Now, if the cameraman knew which I can't get an answer for Critical because he's just asking questions. That's it. It's just asking questions. So you can't get an answer because I'm asking him over and over and he can't give an answer. So if you're arguing, what are you arguing? At this point, the cameraman didn't know when he turns the camera over there? Is that what you're arguing? Or are you arguing that the cameraman did know at this point, but the law enforcement officers didn't know? Which is the argument you're making, Critical? I mean, no, you're just asking questions. That's it. You're just asking questions, right? Go ahead. We're just asking questions. So go ahead, which is it? The cameraman apparently, obviously, like everyone with half a fucking brain in the world could see that this cameraman's clearly directing the camera there because he knows that there's an allegation that there's a pipe bomb there? Or are you saying that's not the case? Okay, so now Critical still doesn't answer the question, but he gives some more details. Now, I'm asking an either-or question. And notice how the guy that's asking questions, he's incapable of answering the either-or question. I'll ask the question again, right? He's just a guy asking questions. That's it. I'll ask the question again. Is it that the cameraman knows and the police officers don't? Or that it's serendipitous that the cameraman doesn't know either? That's the question I'm asking. Why can't I, for a guy who's just asking questions, it would seem pretty easy to answer that question. Option A or option B? Unless he says, no, I think there's an option C. We'll give him 5 more seconds and we're just going to ban him. I should have been done with this stream a while ago. I'm sorry that I allow bad faith people to distract me like this. So we'll give him a couple more seconds here to answer, and then we're just going to ban him. He again doesn't answer. So the question was, does the cameraman know and the police not? Or does the cameraman also don't know? That's the question. And he says the cameraman could know. The cameraman could know. Right, that wasn't the question. Yes, you're right, the cameraman could know. The question was, does the cameraman know and the police not? Or do neither of them know? Saying the cameraman could know, then you're also saying by definition, for this sort of defense of these people to work, that the law enforcement couldn't have known at this point. Last chance, Critical. Is the argument you're making in potential defense here the reason that law enforcement's letting children right next to the pipe bomb is they didn't know? Maybe they didn't know. But it's clear at this point from anyone with half a brain that the cameraman clearly knew that there was an alleged pipe bomb, which is why he's focusing on it. So is the argument you're trying to make at this point that the cameraman knew and the police didn't? Okay, that's the argument he's trying to make. So now we're saying that the cameraman knew, but the police didn't. So, when you see this law enforcement guy, when they're standing around here, now we know the cameraman knows and the police didn't. That's what's being argued. So, we still haven't dispatched. So, the dispatch comes, somehow there is an allegation that someone saw a pipe bomb. Now, we've had the video there, right, where the people around the area. So at some point in the video I've showed you that started exactly at 1:05, someone in the area had to see a pipe bomb. Unless there was a call in from the pipe bomb placer that called in and said there is a pipe bomb at this location, which seems to be nonsense because that's not what law enforcement ever suggesting occurred. What they were told was that it was found by a passerby. So we have the footage. We see the people that were passing by. So what we're supposed to believe is someone passed by that wasn't that guy in the hoodie that told law enforcement. And somehow he must have then, instead of talking to the police car that was right there beside the pipe bomb, called in. He called in. Now we don't see that person walk by on camera somehow, right? But they called in. Instead of, there's the police officer. You see a pipe bomb. The police officer's right there. You're like, I'm not going to tell that police officer. I'm just going to call in. So they call in. Serendipitously, at the same time, some other guy stops and talks to police officers. Then they get out of the car and start looking in the direction of the pipe bomb. But that's a red herring. That's just completely irrelevant and a completely coincidental action that occurs. So now at 1920, we have, so at some point here, let's see when the cameraman's made aware. So he starts turning the camera about 109, right? Law enforcement still doesn't know. Law enforcement still doesn't know. Notice there's pedestrians standing right next to the pipe bomb. So Critical has to say law enforcement still doesn't know. They still don't 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 know. They're not quarantining things off. They still don't know. They're just walking randomly here, right? They still don't know. They're just facing it randomly here. They still don't know. They're allowing children to walk right next to the bomb. They still don't know. It's random that they're all standing there. They still don't know. 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 They're letting people randomly walk by, okay? They still don't know. We haven't seen any evidence that they now know or anything like that. They still don't know. It's 110. They still don't know. 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 Now there's a cop taking a picture. He knows, but the rest don't. So at this point, now Critical, now this is the next argument. So now we've got Critical's argument so far. So the cameraman knew, but the police didn't. Now this police officer knows. Or doesn't he? So, Critical, I'll ask you again, what's your opinion? Your opinion is, at this point, this police officer is just randomly taking a picture of a bush? Or do you think he knows and he's taking a picture of this pipe bomb? Go ahead, Critical, I'll ask you. You're just asking questions. You're nonpartisan. So I'll ask you, is he taking a picture of the pipe bomb or is this just random? He's taking a picture of a random bush. Right? Go ahead, Critical. You're just asking questions, right? So we're trying to square all the circles to make the law enforcement's actions make sense here. So in order for that to make sense, so this police officer knows there's a bomb here, but he doesn't communicate to the other police officers. That's the argument now. So now the argument that we have is this guy taking pictures of the bomb knows there's a bomb, but none of these other guys standing around looking in the direction of the bomb know that there's a bomb. That's the argument. Got it? Now, does everyone see why I treat these people with such hostility? you see it? He waves. So look, here's a good one. Ready? Now watch the guy that takes a picture of the bomb. Ready? Takes a picture of the bomb. Waves to those cops. And doesn't say, hey, how you guys doing? Oh, I forgot to tell you, there's a bomb right there. Not bad. Hey, have a good one, guys. No, it's not extremely misplaced hostility, and I'll tell you why. Because people are languishing in prison because of this. This was a seminal moment that was used to attack our rights. And to watch sacks of shit like you that want to jump through every hoop possible, when anyone with a remote objectiveness could look at this and say, critical, in order for your defense, even a hypothetical defense, to remotely make any sense, it would be fucking laughable, the things that would have to be necessary for that. And I think you're a smart enough person to realize that. So now, critical, let's go. I've misplaced hostility. I'm so sorry. Now, when he waves at these police officers, critical, in order for your theory to, let's continue with your theory. In order for your theory, now he's waving at these police officers. So this gentleman just took a picture of a bomb. He's aware of it. The cameraman's aware of it, but these people standing around looking in the direction of the bomb aren't aware of it. Then he waves at these people and doesn't tell them. Can you explain, seeing as how you're a former MP, can you explain to me what the official protocol is when you literally find and take a picture of a bomb, but you don't tell the law enforcement standing within the blast radius, by the way, there's a bomb there? Is that official? I don't know. I wasn't an MP. So can you tell me, as someone who's just asking questions, and my hostility to is misplaced, can you tell me, is that normal procedure? I'm just curious. That's right, Aftershock. They could concede it and it wouldn't matter. Just incompetence. That's what they'll say at the end of the day. We know it. Critical, you still there, man? You're just asking questions after all. I'm assuming he'll leave eventually, so we'll just answer. So just so you know, the defense, the Xhris, the in pursuit of knowledge, the critical's defense of this situation, absolutely not. Absolutely not what? That's not official procedure. Okay. I wonder why they didn't do that. I wonder what kind of law enforcement officer takes a picture of a bomb, watches his buddies that are in law enforcement standing within the blast radius of the bomb, waves to them, but doesn't tell them there's a bomb. That's weird. Surely you would acknowledge this man should be under criminal investigation, correct? Critical? It's the only explanation so far that makes sense. This guy, I guess, either he's so incompetent that he was about to watch his fellow officers be blown to bits and didn't give a shit, just waved friendly to them and walked away. Or maybe your entire defense has been bullshit the whole time. Let's continue. Still don't appear to be roping off the area. Huh. These people think there's an active bomb, and yet they get back in their car within the blast radius. How do you explain that? I'm sorry, they still don't know there's a bomb. That dude took a picture, but they still don't know. For all of us that aren't complete fucking idiots, we know that they know there's a bomb. There's a cop car pulling within the blast radius of the bomb. There's a guy nonchalantly standing. Oh, he seems to be pointing at the direction of the bomb. Critical would say, but he doesn't know there's a bomb. Oh, okay. Now Critical says when that officer waved, he did tell them there was a bomb. Okay, so now they know there's a bomb. Great. So they didn't know until the officer waved and said, hey, bomb there. Okay, so let's go back to that. So now Critical's saying it's hard to get answers from him because he's just asking questions, right? He's just asking questions. He's not partisan. He's just asking questions, right? So they don't know there's a bomb. They don't know there's a bomb. They don't know that they're just standing around looking for no reason. They don't know there's a bomb. Just standing around looking for no reason. Oh, now this guy knows there's a bomb. The guy taking the picture knows there's a bomb. Okay? Takes the picture. And he says, He waves, and apparently in that moment right there, he takes a picture of the bomb and waves, goes, hey, bomb here. See you guys. Now they know. Right, now they know. Hey, bomb here. That's how quick let's look how quick that is. This is when, just so you know, it's 10:08. They don't know there's a bomb. They're just standing there looking. 10:09, don't know. 10:10, don't know. 10:11, don't know. 10:12, don't know. 10:13, don't know. 10:14, 10:15, don't know. 10:16, 10:17. Now they know. Right there, that wave. Hey, bomb here, guys. Bomb here. That's it. In that period of time, this is the period of time. Right here. Right here. They don't know about the bomb. They don't know. See? Don't know. Don't know. Don't know. Don't know. Hey, guys, bomb here. Oh, okay, now they know. Whew. Man, that's how I'd like to be informed that there's a bomb, right? Well, why haven't they testified okay? Great question. Now they know there's a bomb. Oh, okay. Now there's people milling about. They know there's a bomb. This guy knows there's a bomb. Literally within, what do you expect that is? 15 feet? There's a bomb within 15 feet of him. He gets in the car and he's just going to hang out. So now they know there's a bomb according to Critical. Okay. Still haven't roped off the area. Still standing right within the blast radius of the bomb. This guy walks up right within the blast radius of the bomb. Here's more guys just walking up. More cops driving right by the blast radius of the bomb. He points. Yeah, the bomb's over there, man. Cool. I don't know, man. Bombs, what are you going to do? Now that guy will believe is standing without of the radius. He's saying, hey, I think there's a bomb over there, man. Yeah, a bomb. It's over that way. Oh, okay. It's amazing, by the way, that this cameraman still can't pinpoint it, but that cop cameraman was able to. Still standing around. Now we got some urgency. Now that the Capitol Police are there. So you've seen some of the excuses. The cops didn't know there was a bomb. The cameraman knew, but the cops didn't. The second cameraman knew, but the cops didn't. The blast radius was probably only 1 to 2 feet. You're not an expert if you're questioning why they're allowing children within a blast radius of a bomb. You can't question that. Critical says, Rob, I thought you were one of the best people on our side. I am not on your side, dude. So let's be clear. Your side is the side that's a bootlicker for the FBI, for the intelligence. I'm antithetical to that side. So actually, if you thought I was on your side as the bootlicking, making excuses for the FBI, you're completely wrong. I've never been on that side. So sorry. I'm either very bad faith with you or taking the worst possible variation of what I said and was applying it. No, I asked you over and over what the variation was of what you said, and you repeatedly refused to answer. Right? I said you're either saying X or Y, and you refused to tell me. And when you would tell me if you were taking X or Y, I said, sure, let's go. Can I pull up your chat history? I cannot. I don't give a shit to really spend any more time on bootlickers like yourself. So, but I appreciate you being here anyways. But keep in mind, I am not on your side. Now, I understand there are people like you that will make excuses for the most heinous of FBI actions, but then you'll say things like, yay, Rob, I like Rob. Yep, boy, oh, MAGA. Sure, I know there are people like that, but when there's actual crucial information that comes out in the form of video evidence, which sort of disproves the narrative that they have been saying, that's when you'll come in as the reasonable right-winger that's, you check my chat history, I've always been a reasonable person. And that's when you'll come in and say, but wait a minute. Now, it makes sense that the cops are doing this. I was a former MP after all. Totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. That cameraman knew there was a bomb. The police right there didn't. Someone walked by and called the cameraman but didn't call the police. And then a second cameraman shows up and he tells them by saying, hey, just waving in 2 seconds, there's a bomb there. You could say, you're right, Rob. What a dog shit fucking comment I had. I don't know. I guess I was trying to play devil's advocate, but probably not the best thing to do given the circumstances and the gravity of what this situation is. But I'm thoroughly ashamed at the opinions that I was trying to make at these potential excuses. I assure you I was only doing such in order to illustrate to people how stupid the fucking people that would defend this would really be. You could say that. You could. And then I would say, oh, okay. I guess. But that's not what you're going to say. It would be a long chat message, I agree. I'm just fucking over it. Critical, I'm fucking over it, and I'm over people like you. I'm sorry. I'm fucking over it. I'm sorry. I don't have the time of day for it anymore. Fuck off. I don't know what to say. Go watch a different streamer. Fuck you. That's it. Part of me wants to be more polite and stuff to people, but I'm so tired of going in-depth analysis and all this shit and having fucking losers like you. Well, maybe the FBI, well, the law enforcement, maybe the bombs, they thought that they could only have a 2-foot blast radius, and they didn't know, and the cameraman knew, and then the other cameraman knew, and then they didn't know, and then... I'm over it. I deal with it every fucking time. Every time. Every time. I'm so over it. Well, they couldn't deploy. They couldn't deploy because of optics. They couldn't deploy, but if Trump would have deployed, then it wouldn't have been bad for optics, but they couldn't deploy because of optics. I'm over it. I'm just so over it. And if you can't understand it, if you're legitimately a good faith person who thinks that there's mass corruption at these institutions, that's tired of it being exploited, and you chose to come on here and play devil's advocate in one of the dumbest possible ways I've ever seen, and you can't understand my frustration with that, then you clearly haven't been watching me or understand the gravity of the situation that's occurring. Yes, you're right, Critical. You could have done things like this. But Rob, isn't it true that we may not any of us have free will? Isn't it true that we could all be sort of a VR simulation? So before we look at this footage, we need to take that into account. You're right, that is true. I guess that's very important. You're right, we can pretend that maybe these law enforcement officers just happen to be milling about, that some unknown person that somehow didn't come in camera frame at the exact same time that this other guy who walked by the bomb and talked to law enforcement happened to see the bomb, but didn't see law enforcement, so didn't tell law enforcement there's a bomb right there. Instead called dispatch. Dispatch then gets in charge of the cameraman. At the same time, all of these people, police officers and Secret Service, get out and start looking at the direction of the bomb, but don't do anything to prevent the people that are actually getting close to the bomb like children. Then simultaneously, dispatch tells that cameraman puts his camera there. Another independent police officer, somehow, who has a physical camera on him, also gets the message, but still not the cops that are right there. They don't have the message yet. So this independent cameraman comes over and he takes a picture of the bomb, right? And at that point, instead of like explaining like, holy shit, no one else knows there's a bomb here, saying, hey, there's a bomb here, he just waves, or he does tell them, but the way he tells them is says, hey, there's a bomb here, and then walks away without like going and explaining the situation to them. And that's the extent that we could use to defend why they would stand around nonchalantly and allow children to get close to this bomb. Yeah, now my wife's on here. I was supposed to be done at like 11. So, but because of 2 fucking trolls, here I am. 1 second, I'm looking up something. I'm looking for this testimony. I saw their, yeah. Good. They're looking for a prison term for Peter Navarro for violating the subpoena. Meanwhile, the Republicans just agreed to not hold Hunter Biden in contempt. They couldn't even hold him in contempt, let alone push for a prison sentence. I was able to find this. It's not the testimony I was looking for. Massie asked the head of the FBI that was in charge of this, D'Antonio. He didn't know if the FBI interviewed the individual who discovered the pipe bomb at the DNC. Question. So just put a fine point on it. You don't know whether they interviewed the person that discovered the bomb at the DNC. Head of the FBI says, I don't know. Mr. D'Antoni conceded it would be investigation 101 to interview the visuals who discovered the bombs. Yet he is unable to confirm whether the FBI had taken this basic step. He explained. Massie says, so, but the person who found, you either haven't identified the person who found the second pipe bomb, or did you? D'Antoni says, I honestly, sir, I don't know the granularity of everything my agents and analysts did in that matter. It's a whole host of stuff that's going on. And the assistant director in charge has, like any senior leader, I'm getting briefed on things, and that part never came up. So we don't even know if they even interviewed the guy that found the pipe bomb. By the way, the guy that found it would seemingly be one of the people that would be a suspect, right? Because if you found it, But I still wanted to look because I'm damn sure I heard testimony. You DM'd me a link about Capitol Police. On what, Discord? Or on Twitter? I gotta be done here by noon though, so... I don't know where you DM'd me, sir. All right, you guys have fun fighting with Critical. I don't wish any ill to you, Critical. I think you're dog shit. You're welcome to come back on and continue to be dog shit. I guess it's content. You know, I wonder if you keep that same strength up anytime there's any. Wait, maybe they just didn't know. Maybe they didn't know. The cameraman knew, but they didn't. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Bootlicker. And the best part is, I'll even be charitable. I'll say Critical. Let's say this. Critical is someone that's concerned about the direction he sees the country. Maybe he's not the biggest Democrat fan. That could be true. He doesn't understand that he's more of a useful fucking idiot than any of the Democrats ever could be. Doesn't get it. Because he's the guy that's out there like, well, wait a minute, I don't like them, but maybe the police officers just had no clue, but the cameraman knew, and this other cameraman knew, but they didn't know, and then they informed them in exactly this 2 seconds. If they were informed in exactly this 2 seconds, then maybe it could make sense. If this was the exact 2 seconds they were informed. He doesn't realize. I don't know what the agenda into doing that. Maybe he's just a Democrat and he's pretending. I don't know. I don't give a shit. These people are dog shit. I'm tired of any fucking conspiracy against Trump. Oh, when Trump said be peaceful, we know he meant don't be peaceful. But when you literally have video evidence of shit like this pipe bomb thing, well, wait a minute. Is there any possible explanation in, no matter how improbable, 0.0000001 probability that could put this in a light that's charitable? If there is, then, you know, we have to ask those questions. So, all right, everyone, I'm going to head out. I will probably see you all Monday night. Thank you so much. As always, everyone, have a good